When I was a freshman at Allegheny College, is when I first learned or dove into my first policy, and it was the Moynihan Report. And at that time, it was a very comprehensive report about the economic conditions of Black America, but it also inserted this negative frame or view of Black families. And to sort of counter that approach, I listened to Public Enemy like incessantly. And Fear of the Black Planet was the album that was released in 1990, and I played that song that album over and over again. And that song, if you're a hip hop snob like me, you know that was the title track to Fear of a Black Planet. And in many ways, it serves as a metaphor for what I work on today. I look at the assets in Black majority cities all across the country because I know personally how it feels to be devalued, to be ignored, to be dismissed. There are about 1,200 Black majority cities all across the country, and they all have strengths. But we don't recognize those strengths, and which leads to a lack of investment. I say this all the time. No one invests in deficits. No one invests in problems. In fact, what is true is we essentially give money for white folks to fix Black problems. And those investments lead to the growth of those industries, to the detriment of Black people. Let me introduce you to Dorian Moorfield. He is a business owner in Pittsburgh on the Hill District, not too far from where I grew up. It's a restaurant on the Hill. It has a 4.64 rating on Yelp. When I met him, I started talking to him, and he was bragging about his restaurant. He held up this steak, and he said, "Who in the city serves a breakfast steak like this?" And somebody on the counter said, "No one." And he pointed to that person and said, "See, that's my best customer right there." It's located on the Hill District. Now, for most of my time growing up, the Hill District was 99% Black. In 1970, when I was born, it was 99% Black all the way up to 2010. Between 2010 and 2017, it essentially became 80% Black. So within that 7-year period, you saw a changing in demographic. Now, what's interesting, he told me that he's had the same business for over 10 years. And during that time, it's only in the last few years where he's gotten his streets repaired, garbage cans placed outside, the lights outside repaired. It wasn't until white people moved in the area for the city to recognize that this is an asset in this place. And that's sort of where my work on this particular issue begins. Now, we have done a lot of work in this area of devaluation. I'm going to quickly just go through the background of it. In 2018, we released a report on housing devaluation, and what we found that after controlling for education, crime, walkability, all those fancy Zillow metrics, social conditions, we found that homes in Black neighborhoods are priced 23% lower than their white equivalents, and that amounts to about $156 billion in losses. I can't say this enough. $156 billion is a big number. It would have funded about 4.4 million businesses based on the average startup cost. It would have paid for about 8 million four-year college degrees based on that average cost. It would have replaced the pipes in Flint, Michigan 3,000 times over. It would have covered all of Hurricane Katrina damage. It is a big number. And it's led me to this notion that there's nothing wrong with Black people that ending racism can't solve. That, again, we're constantly producing this narrative that the conditions of Black cities are a direct result of the individual decisions of the black people in it. And so that our research is starting to defy that logic. And so we wanted to go into another asset class, and that is businesses. So we are presenting today the devaluation of businesses in black communities. And we took a similar approach. We looked at business revenue from Dun & Bradstreet and Net's databases, and from there we also were able to get a sense of the race of the business owner. We also, I hate when I say this, sounds like something wrong when I say we scrape Yelp data. Well, with the help of the data scientists at Gallup, we acquired Yelp data to get a sense of business quality. Again, we wanted to look at are the decisions of the business owner the reason why you see lower profits. And then we looked at neighborhood conditions. So we wanted to get a sense of the buying power, the spending power in communities. We looked at home prices. We looked at income. We looked at education and all those other things people say the reason why profits are low. So we controlled for all of those things. Now, we found some things in the research about black people represent about 13% of the population, but only 4% of the nation's business owners. Now, what's important to note here that Gallup psychologists have developed this a builder profile 10, and it measures the enduring characteristics that predict success of an entrepreneur. And what they found that there are entrepreneurs who meet black entrepreneurs that meet the profile at the same numbers as white entrepreneurs in white communities. And so this notion that they're just not there is false. It's a false notion. Another finding, minority-owned businesses are rated just as highly or higher than white-owned businesses on Yelp than average. Again, this is a myth. When you hear people say, oh, the service is bad in black businesses or something, they're no worse than these issues in white communities. So we have to break that myth. Now, in the aggregate, businesses owned by people of color are rated higher, but when you control for sector, then that falls apart. There's no difference. So in the very least, there's no difference in quality. We should take this idea of quality off the table when we're talking about businesses. But this is where it gets, we see the impact of race. Businesses in black neighborhoods receive fewer Yelp reviews, and they are 0.2% lower on average when you don't consider race. So there's something about the racial concentration of black people in a neighborhood surrounding the business that's suppressing profits. Here you can see Yelp ratings decrease as the black share of the population increases. Again, minority-owned businesses are higher, but they both are declining as the concentration of blackness increases. Highly rated businesses in black neighborhoods experience lower revenue growth than poorly rated businesses in neighborhoods that are less than 1% black. I can't tell you enough. I mean, this is the kind of distortion in the market that is absolutely robbing us of profits, robbing communities of profits. What's the cost? We estimate about $1.3 to $4 billion in losses across the country in profits. There's a saying in the hood, if you have old folks in your family who lived through segregation, our ice is just as cold. It's something my grandparents told me, and it was their wisdom that really I'm bringing this data through. That if you have the choice between a hamburger shop in the black neighborhood or a hamburger shop in the white neighborhood, go where the quality is. They knew then, if you do not, you distort the market in ways that harms the entire community. A lot of this work is really about figuring out ways to drive investment, towards the people who deserve it. You know, I cringe when I hear things like, oh, we need another program to sort of help black businesses. No, we need a direct investment in businesses, and we need investments in the communities around it. So to counter devaluation, we need direct capital. I say cut the check. You'll hear me say that all the time. We don't need another education program, capacity building program. I'm sorry if I'm offending folks who are doing that work. But folks need the check that white businesses receive 3 times the investment of black businesses in terms of startup. They're getting the check. Not only that, as I relate, we need the public investment in the neighborhoods around them. The reason why I always emphasize direct capital to people, because if you completely invest in place and not people, you essentially spur gentrification. Folks need ownership in a real sense, but they also need ownership in a spiritual sense. This is part of the American dream, the ability to own something. And again, we make targeted infrastructure investments in black neighborhoods, partner with business and developers to incentivize renovation and provide commercial spaces. I say if there's any group that needs incubators, and it's folks in the hood, we should figure out ways to make that happen. This picture is deliberate. You see UPMC in the background. You see banks in the background. If they want to realize the returns on investment, it's to invest in black businesses and invest in black neighborhoods. I have to be honest with you, I was very fearful of releasing this report because a superficial reading of it, folks will say, well, why should I start a business in a black community if I'm going to lose profits? The reality is that you stand to gain the greatest returns by investing in quality, investing in black businesses, investing in neighborhoods that deserve it. Between housing and businesses, we are robbing people of the opportunity to lift themselves. And that type of suppression is what we all have to be concerned about eliminating. With that said, I have a book coming out, May 19th. If you are familiar with Black history, you know the significance of May 19th, but I'll have you look it up. I'll have you Google it if you don't. But the point of the book, why I titled the book Know Your Price, my favorite play in the whole wide world is Two Trains Running by August Wilson. And in the play, the main character, Memphis, is about to have his restaurant seized through eminent domain by the city of Pittsburgh for $15,000. The main character, Memphis, goes, no, I'm not selling my business for $15,000. I know my price. And I'm paraphrasing. And throughout the play, it's a refrain. I know my price. I got my price. There's another character, Hambone, in the play. He paints a fence for a proprietor in exchange for a ham. He paints the fence. He never gets his ham. And throughout the play, give me my ham, give me my ham, give me my ham. And we don't know if he had mental illness before he painted the fence, but eventually he went mad and died demanding his ham. There's actually a happy end to this story. Y'all like, damn, this is crazy. But the happy ending to the story is that the main character, Memphis, gets $35,000, and it's assumed he's getting market rate for it. But the moral of the story is know that you have worth. You got to know you have worth. However, I want my research, I want this book to give people the price to stand on. A lot of the research that you're going to see today is about giving people a price to stand on. So much of the research that comes out of universities and think tanks are in this deficit frame. And again, no one invests in problems. In the very least, we have a responsibility to identify racism and causes of inequality. not to spotlight what's wrong or what's bad about people. And there's certainly nothing bad about me, you, or this research for that matter.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos from Brookings.